Come stand with us as we sing Hark the Herald.
Community Church of the Blue Ridge for our Christmas Eve service. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, but we're doing our things a little early today, so it's the Eve service. We're glad to have you with us. I know we have a couple of visitors. Sandra's mother's here this morning. We're glad. And also we have a couple of the Sinks here who are here. I'm not going to make you stand up and say anything. Don't worry. They're here because 40 years ago today, they were married in this church, and they want to come back together. We're glad you're here. We appreciate you sharing your day with us. Lots of announcements. Most of them are in your bulletin. I encourage you to take that home and read it. You can bring it back next week and recycle it. We won't be having Bible study again until the 8th. Also, we're also co-sponsoring a special event later in this week by the gents and ladies and gents of Blue Ridge. They're going to be having a Trailblazer fundraiser over at the UU Church. And there's information about that in your bulletin also. Snowman money. Remember the little snowmen we sold that went so quickly? I talked with Wanda and Lori this morning, and we made over $500. And the neat thing about that fundraiser is most of it was bought and given by people not in our church, so it doesn't affect the offering plates. So we're glad to have those. Also, a little head notice. January 6th, we'll be coming to take down our beautiful Christmas decorations. So after church on the 6th, eat before you come to church that morning, and plan to stay and help us take those down. Any other announcements that I missed that are super important? Read your bulletin. This church has a practice that many churches have had down through the ages of passing the peace. It's a time when if you're in a place and you're not sure if people were Christians earlier in the day, they would be able to say the peace of Christ, and they'd either look at you weird or they'd say, with you also. So we invite you at this point to rise as you're able, to share in the passing of the peace, and then go shake hands with somebody, hug somebody, wave at them across the room, just tell them you're glad they're here. Would you join me in the peace of Christ, sharing the peace of Christ? The peace of Christ be with you, and also with you. Go share peace. Look at everybody hugging and talking. I love it.
Well, over the past few weeks, we've been taking up offerings for a love gift for our pastor and for our minister of music. So let's just take a second to thank them for being here. Merry Christmas.
This is our Advent reading for today. On the fourth Sunday of Advent, as we think about the coming of Jesus Christ, we light the candle of love. How great is the love that God has lavished on us. This is how God showed love. God sent the one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. All will know that you are my disciples if you love one another.
Let's stand and sing What Child Is This? What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's mattress sleeping? Whom angels greet with anthems sweet, but shepherds' hearts are keeping. This is Christ the King, who
feel free to put your address in each change of that. Or if you think we don't have your phone number, please put that in so we can contact you about things. This church is and always has been known as a praying church. Many of you have asked for prayer for things here, and you've seen God answer those in the way that God chooses. Today, Sandra has prayers for a co-worker whose 98-year-old mother passed away yesterday. Josh has prayers because he has lost 2 close friends recently, and continued prayers for Victoria Jones for her back to heal and her breathing to get better. Sometimes, you know, if we lose close friends, it's good to have somebody to give us a hug. And if you have a chance, would you encourage Josh with that? Seems like a lot of folks, I've had 3 college friends die within the last couple of weeks. So we want to encourage one another. We want to pray today for the tsunami victims in Indonesia, a horrible event there. Continue to pray for them. Patsy asked healing prayers for Bonnie. Praises, even post-cancer, Mo turned 60 years old the other day. Yeah, 60 looks younger and younger and younger, says the 67-year-old. Hallelujah. Do you have prayer requests you were not able to get into the book? Anybody? Charlotte?
One of my good friends, her nephew, Casey, had his hand crushed in a roller machine of some kind. It didn't crush the bones, but it's done significant damage. So just prayers. It's his dominant hand, and he's a construction guy, so yeah.
Prayers for a friend's nephew, Casey, whose hand was crushed in a roller, that he'll be able to get back to his work as a construction worker. Who else? Pat?
Prayers for my family. For my family.
Prayers for Pat's family and prayers for Pat. She's trying to get better.
Prayer for my mom. She's in home Wednesday. Is still hospital, but it's not as bad. The day got sick. He had nothing to do and stuff, but he won't go to the doctor, of course. But she can't drive, so I need her to come go all the way down and just take her or bring her up. But she said, well, I'm not going to do that, but he will.
Prayers for Cindy's mother as she continues healing. For Cindy as she becomes the chauffeur of the family. Anyone else? You want to have a prayer request maybe you didn't want to say out loud, but you'd like somebody to see your hand, your sleeve, and be able to pray for you in the coming days. Would you pray with me? Loving God, we do thank you for this season. We thank you that we can celebrate on one day or another day or another day as long as we're praising you. We thank you for the people who come here week after week who are willing to share their time, their talents, their money, their heart with this place. We thank you, loving God, for the way that you have kept this church going for all these years. And we ask that you continue your presence with us as we reach out to other folks. You've heard the prayer requests we've shared. Touch people's hearts and lives to know that they are not alone, that you are present with them, and that you know the very best. I know some people had unspoken requests that are just really heavy on their heart. We thank you for praises of people getting older, but not that old. Continue to bless us through this service. May we remember, most importantly, the birth of your Son, Jesus, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Kelly was kind enough to volunteer me to do the offering today, so she gets to sing. I think that's a fair trade-off.
I'm so sorry.
Well, we come to the time of our service for offering, and I'm just so blessed and grateful for this church, its presence in the community, just the time of year that we are in, where we get to recognize the birth of Christ, and the world becomes a little bit gentler for a few days anyways. It's important to me that we have this beautiful place to come to and to worship, and I think it's important to most of y'all in this room. So please, just give as you're able. Ushers.
Our dear
Lord, we thank you for these gifts and offerings. We ask that you bless them and use them towards your work in our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Most of you know how much I love the Message Bible, but you just can't read this Luke 2 from anything else but King James. And this is the Bible I use many times at Cambria Baptist Church because they always let me be the reader. They wouldn't let me be an angel, and they surely wouldn't let me be Mary. And I didn't have the right bathrobe to be a shepherd. Luke chapter 2, verses 1 to 7. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. and all went to be taxed, every one to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Can you imagine how many sermons can be taken from just that 7 verses? How many different looks? We looked in Bible study at several of these. All the different ways it's been approached, everything from trying to explain to you how none of this could have happened because the right governor wasn't the governor when, let alone the baby born to a virgin. People who want to take the Christmas story and just parse it to pieces. But my question for us today is, who's in the manger for you? This doesn't look very much like a manger. But I don't think the manger Jesus was placed in probably looked like those pretty wooden ones that we make when we see in pictures. Probably was a feeding trough. But people in those days were waiting and looking for a Messiah. They had been under captivity or under domination by the Romans forever. From way back in the time of Isaiah, they'd been promised a Messiah. And they kept waiting and waiting and waiting. They must have been much more patient than we are. When we want something, we want it now or sooner. But I'm not sure what they were looking for either in the manger. Some of them may have been looking for a political Messiah. Someone would come in on that big white horse to conquer the Romans and run them out and make them the important nation they were supposed to be. Some of them may have been hoping for an economic Jesus. You know, later on, Jesus would feed a lot of people. And there was always a time of hunger and need in every country at all times. Maybe they hoped somebody would come through and make everybody able to have everything they wanted. And some people may have been looking for a religious Messiah. You know, the Jewish faith at that time had hundreds and hundreds of laws. And everybody would look at different ones and say, you're not keeping that one, and you're not keeping that one, and you're not keeping that one. Maybe they wanted some great, if you will, Jewish pope to come in that would pull everything together and tell them how they were really supposed to be practicing this faith. We know by the very story that not very many people were expecting the Messiah they got. Not very many would have been waiting there in Bethlehem, though it was foretold years and years and years ago by Micah. I wonder why people didn't go to Bethlehem every year and just kind of hang out, you know, and hope they were there when the Messiah came. Not many people were expecting. In fact, no one was expecting except Mary, Joseph, Elizabeth, and Zechariah, because they kind of got a foretaste of glory. They'd sort of been told what was coming. And we can be upset with them and think, you know, how could they not been looking? But so many times we aren't really looking for the Messiah either. We aren't really looking for the Jesus that can come in our lives and make a real difference. We have different ideas of what we want to find in the manger. Some of us have kind of grown up wanting a vending machine Jesus. We tell Jesus what we want. We tell Jesus what we're going to do for it. We push the button and expect it to happen. I know none of you have ever done that before. Some of us want a Jesus who's an instant healer. And that happens sometimes. But when we have a problem, a situation, or an illness, we expect Jesus to, boom, fix it right then. I'm glad over the years I've learned a lot about healing. Sometimes it is instantaneous. Sometimes it takes a long time. Many times it takes medication, and sometimes it's the ultimate healing of being finally whole and complete as we meet God. Sometimes we want a Jesus that's going to make us popular. Not all the time, but you know, in certain groups, you want to be the best Christian. You want to be the one when they think Christian or they think church member, they look at you. I don't think you would have found that in the manger. And there's been a long time where people have been preaching, if you really love and know Jesus, you'll be rich. Prosperity gospel. You know, send me your $1,000 and you'll get $1,000 back. Works sometimes. I do believe that as we give, God provides for us. And sometimes that's in greenbacks. Sometimes it's in peace. Sometimes it's just an awareness of what God wants from us. Sometimes we just want a Jesus that will make us on the right side. The way we look at Jesus has got to be the right way. Come on, show everybody that we're doing it right. Especially if you grew up in some of the mainline denominations, you know. I kind of love that joke about people walking through heaven being shown around. And they come to this one area, and Peter, who's showing them around, says, now be very quiet. Be very quiet as we go past this group. Why? They're Baptists, and they think they're the only ones there. I can tell that being a recovering Baptist. But you know how sometimes we want to make sure that everybody understands our concept of God, and they agree that we're right. But you know, God didn't send a Messiah that really fits any of that. God offered up to us a baby. A tiny, innocent baby. A helpless baby. Sometimes it's hard to imagine that Jesus had to learn to walk. I mean, later he'd walk on water, but he had to learn to walk. Jesus had to learn to talk. Jesus was a purely human person and also divine. Jesus needed to be taught about his faith, his Jewish faith. Fortunately, some people taught him the right things because he could help people understand it. The good thing is, this teeny tiny baby didn't stay teeny tiny. If you've ever had a child, a niece, a nephew, and they're so cute when they're little, you know, they aren't causing any trouble, you think, oh, if they would just stay like this. But you really don't want that to happen. Or maybe you get that cute little puppy, and it's so adorable. And when you get it, it's little. As time goes by, it gets less little, and less little, and less little. But this baby in the manger didn't stay a baby. Instead, he became a man who taught us what love is all about. A man that taught us how to live. A man that taught us how to have a life that doesn't need a vending machine, doesn't need an instant riches, but can give us contentment and life abundant even now. Jesus came to assure us that our sins would be forgiven, that we could all be present with God, that we're not failures, we're not mistakes, we're divine creatures loved by a divine God, shown how to live by a divine Jesus. Jesus came to give us a reason to celebrate, a reason to enjoy these nativity scenes, and I've got some beautiful ones this year in my office. Jesus came to give us more than a reason to put up wreaths and lights. Jesus came to give us a reason to celebrate life, real life, holy life, W-H-O-L-L-Y and H-O-L-Y, life. So my question comes back is, who's in the manger for you today? Who's here for you? I think that Jesus I've just talked about, the one to give us life and life abundant, is here for all of us. But you know, it means that we have to take out and accept that Jesus. And let him become more than just a pretty part of a creche, a pretty part of decorations, a pretty picture on a Christmas card, but become truly the Lord and Savior, the master of our lives. As you continue on through this few days until Christmas, let Jesus be real to you. Let Jesus crawl out of that manger and curl up next to you and hold you and love you and convince you that you are divinely loved. Amen. I love that line that says it's open to all. Because you think of the traditional Christmas story, you had the shepherds come, who were among the lowest of the population. And you also had the Magi, who were among some of the most important people, because the manger was open to all. And that gave us reason to see this table is open to all. About 33 years later, Jesus met in an upper room with some of his friends. We don't know how many knew his birth story because it wasn't really being talked about all that much. But they knew the man. They knew the Messiah. They knew the teacher. And they were there to celebrate Passover with him. And during that meal, he took bread, he lifted it to heaven, he gave thanks for it, he blessed it, and he broke it. He said to them words they would only understand days or even years later. And he said, "This is my body, which is broken for you. Take and eat of it, each of you." One of the cups from that Passover table he also took up. As he lifted it, he gave thanks for it and blessed it, and said again new words. "This is my blood, which is shed for you, as a sign of a new and everlasting covenant. My blood shed for you for the forgiveness of all sin. Take and drink, all of you." And whenever we remember these words, we remember the life of Jesus Christ. We share in the mystery of our faith. Christ has died, Christ is risen, and Christ is coming again. Hallelujah.
In this church and all MCC churches around the world, we celebrate an open table, which means you don't have to be a member of this church or any church to participate. All you need is a desire to come closer to Christ. If you choose to come forward, the server will place a wafer in the juice and put it on your tongue and offer you a brief blessing. If you need additional prayer, Liz will be in the back and she'll be glad to speak with you. We have gluten-free available, and over to this side we have a self-serve table, so if you'd like to just have a little communion between you and God, you're welcome to sit over there. Please come forward.